Woody had gone right to the police, this would never have happened.
Uh-oh.
So, there are liberties being taken, like, there's going to be an increased amount of shit talk.
Oh, I have to remind myself I'm here willingly.
Catch one with a little bit of attitude, big guy?
Man, you champion son.
It's a kangaroo court.
How is the NFL a kangaroo court?
Could you please let me explain why?
No, I don't want to hear this garbage. Give me an answer to the questions I asked you.
What the fuck are we doing?
Come on with it, baby!
Thanks, boy.
I'll talk to you later.
Let's get to the thing.
All right. My undercarriage is sweating. For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
I apologize. I was muted. Welcome into another edition of the Third and Manageable Podcast. I am your host, Matt Diegert, and my illustrious co-host is under the weather tonight, so you'll just be seeing me. But we are going to have the interview that we did earlier this week with the May 14th tragedy in 2022. We did have on Aaron Salter, whose dad did inevitably lose his life. But as you'll hear him say, he, gave his life on that fateful day to save many, many more people. And we also had Patti Thomas on, and also Be Cool Fool, the president of Poncho's Army. So definitely check all them out. All the links and everything will be down in the bio for all that. And I'm going to play a couple of those clips from that interview, and then we'll get into some of the schedule stuff after that. So without further ado, let me go ahead and play some of this interview.
hey, welcome to the Third and Manageable Podcast. As always, I am your host, Student Body Right, and to my left, always front, never behind, is my co-host, Matt Diegert. You can find him at Matt Diegert on Twitter. Matt, what do we say? Nothing but illustrious guests. And I got to be honest with you, this one is no different. We're welcoming a trio of people that we see in the community, and you're going to see and hear their story tonight. We're going to pan around the room. We have Be Cool Fool, Mr. Anthony.
Go Bills.
From Poncho's Army. What's going on, my man?
Loving life, man. Just.
No. It's just the intro. That's it. No, I'm just messing with you. Additionally, we have bringing the street, Mr. Aaron Salter.
Hey, what's up, man? How you guys doing?
And as always, ladies first. That was horrendously rude. We have the ghost, Patti Thomas. How are you guys?
Hey guys, good. Thanks for having me today. Nice to be here.
We'll probably keep them flowing, but it's a pretty organic conversation. We kind of know what we want to touch on, and we hope you guys are impressed in what we find important to you. Maddie, how did we get here on a pre-record on this fine Thursday afternoon? It could snow, could rain. We still have jackets everywhere because I'm pretty sure this frozen tundra is capable of doing anything, much like this podcast.
Yeah, just wait 15 minutes and the weather will change, right?
I'm going to pan it right to Anthony. Anthony, how did we get here? It's because I know it started.
I drove here.
Nice.
Thanks,
nice.
Anthony.
All the way from Boston.
Obvious, huh?
And I heard next week you're getting indoor plumbing.
I think how we got here is a little bit of faith, a little bit of God, a little bit of hard work. Just loving yourself, not in a narcissistic way, but in a way that you can spread some love. And I think, a lot of people influenced this, and Patti being one of them. A lot of people, man. It's just the way you guys handle things and the way you guys approach stuff. You guys touch on issues that most people never do, and it's just it's a little things that you guys do. I really appreciate it. you guys focus on the things that need to be talked about, and that's why I'm here, man. I love what you guys do.
I heard a really good quote from Stephen Colbert, and he said,
quotes.
He said, "I have grown to love the thing I most wished had not happened." Because if we're truly to be thankful for life, if you live long enough, with life comes tragedy, and that's something we're going to address tonight. And I'll bring it to Aaron Salter. We're going to talk about May 14th of 2022. It's a tough day for everybody. It's something that we're still bringing to light right now. Patti,
she's been very instrumental in talking about this topic and how people view things and treat people and handle situations. And Patti's a big advocate for this love.
Right, because that day started as through the prism of hate. And it's up to us to build it. Aaron, if you could just touch on that, man. Open forum. How'd you begin that day? What were you left with in the shortcoming, and how are you sitting today? Because I guarantee you, it's three diametrically opposed probably viewpoints.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Like I woke up and that day 3 years ago, I was I think I mowed my lawn, and then my one buddy was like, "Hey, you want to stop by and like have some drinks and stuff?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So I went over there, we were kicking it, and my wife actually texted me, and she texted me like a clip from Facebook, and she was like, "Is this involving your dad? Like something's going on at Tops." So I literally sped from where I was in Buffalo. Like I ran every red light to get to Tops, and I drove all the way to Tops. And when I walked up to the crime scene, like the cops were like, they like let me come on because of who I was, but then like they were kind of like shooing me away. And when they were doing that, I knew something bad happened. And I was there with my sister, and like I knew I kind of felt something in my stomach. And then like I knew something bad happened, and I kept asking the police, like I was like, "What's going on? Was my dad involved? Was my dad involved?" And they wouldn't tell me anything. And then like eventually they told us. And then like my sister broke down. I think I called my mom. My mom, like that phone call was probably like the worst phone call I had to make of my life,
dude.
Like just it was terrible. And then like I had to kind of get it together like right after that, and like kind of be the man, because I'm like the only son. So I had to be the man and like take care of my mom and my sister and everything like that. And like fast forward to now, 2025, it's just like it's been a lot over these 3 years. I've been doing so much. Like so many people in the community have reached out, and so many people with like Anthony, like I met so many good people through tragedy. And right now, like I'm just looking forward. Like I went to the memorial yesterday, and like that's all fine and all, but at some point I'm gonna want to like deal with it in my own way. Like
that's exactly what I wanted to ask you, Aaron. Is you mentioned you had to be the man for your mother.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do acts like this, what Patti's doing, what Anthony do, is that kind of signifying the time that you need to heal yourself?
Yeah, it's just like yesterday I was overwhelmed just because like I get like right around a couple weeks up towards like the events, like I get a lot of emails, I get a lot of texts, and a lot of people kind of pulling you in different directions because they want you to come out and they want to do things for the tragedy that happened and things like that. And it's it's like over these last 3 years, I feel like I've done so much, and it's just like I still want to do things, obviously, but at the same time, it's like yesterday I just wanted to just like go see my dad, visit him, and just like kind of just have like a nice day and like just embrace it. Like I woke up yesterday and I hit the pavement. I ran like 7 miles. I had to run it out, man. I woke up and I was just feeling it. I just went and ran. I had to,
Patti,
just things like that,
Patti, he's talking about like a lot of kind of emptiness with the loss of his father, and a lot of in the void. If you could draw your attention here to the camera right here, one of the things I noticed here is the use of negative space. Love is so prominent in this photo, but you left a lot of negative space in white canvas. Is that kind of intentional? Because this is just one of the most beautiful, well thought out paintings I've seen.
Well, thank you very much. And so the space was originally just white. There was no color to it at all. And it was so the community could come together and they could color it. We we had it here at the stadium. This was at the stadium, and then it was moved to the resource center down on the east side. And so, a bunch of little kids and people from the community could come in, and and that was also like a nice thing to see, people from different parts of our community contributing to this and just kind of saying, we love you and we care. And that's what the whole purpose behind the mural was for there to be some comfort, because as I sit and I listen, to Aaron, it's just really hard for me.
Breaks
and
my heart.
Yeah.
it as much as we're all hurting here, we don't know that kind of pain that Aaron feels and on a daily basis. And I don't know that pain. I don't know the pain of having someone that I love taken from me in such a horrific, awful, racist, just like
Because the color of their skin.
attack. And I just have to say that the people around you, Aaron, we're doing our best to show love to you, love to the community. But man, there's a lot more to be done. There's just a lot more to be done. And honey, it isn't all by you. So when you need to rest, you rest, and the people that love you, they understand when you say no, because you need time for yourself, Aaron. I just think about so much just seeing you and knowing what your father did and the hero he was that day. And he tried so hard, to save so many people, and he did, and he just couldn't, and he probably did save a lot of people, and he couldn't save himself because, he couldn't penetrate that armor. And there's so many things to that day that are so sad, but they're also so frustrating. And it's really hard to like rise above being frustrated to continue to do the work and the work that needs to be done. I just, Aaron, I met you before, but we never had a chance just to sit and talk. And your dad's my hero, honey. He's just my hero. And so many of them there, and they didn't choose to be. And that's the part that just makes me sad,
Yeah, and just to add to that, like a couple of things, like, so he wasn't supposed to be, he covered someone's shift that day. And then like, I can't think about it. I can't dwell about it too much, but my dad hit him. My dad shot that man.
Yeah, I know.
He shot him, and,
Fuck yeah, he did.
if he didn't have that body armor on, like I can only imagine, like if it played out different and he didn't have that body armor on and he hit him and he was able to survive, like he'd be a living legend, man. But he still did what he had to do, and he tried to save as many people as he can. And that's the type of man that I grew up with. That's the type of man who raised me, and he always exhibited those characteristics from when I was an infant to when he passed. And that's why I love it.
And your dad was the guy that goes into the fire,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Fire. And everything that you see and you hear about him from people he knew, that's what you hear. You hear that's the guy that, and boy, was that a fire that day, because, the flames were too much to bear, and it's devastating. It's just devastating. And it, like I said, it's hard to keep the momentum, but sometimes you got to let these people around you lift you up and do some of the work while you heal. I mean, like that's.
Yeah.
A man's biggest lie is telling people I'm okay. I'm good.
Been a Bills fan my entire life. Patti, you probably have too.
Have.
It's one of those things where the Bills, we're not hopeful. We speak in definitives. We're going to get one. Anthony, what definitively is going to happen moving forward from this? Because we're not hopeful people. You're a doer. You're Ponchos. You're Ezra. Ezra was a doer. Aaron's a doer. Patty's a doer.
I think if our light doesn't extinguish, and I think we can all brighten up everybody's day with a smile and just try to be, like I was telling Aaron, I go, when you mention Poncho's Army, I go, the smile on his face is infectious. It really is. And it's just, being able to make somebody smile is a gift. Like Robin Williams said, if I make somebody smile, I did my job. And I'll never know what it is to be in the position, that Black people are, but I'll be here to listen, and I'll be here to help and make sure that
you'll be the vehicle.
It doesn't happen on my watch, because that shit don't stand with me. I don't care if you're black, white, yellow, green, or purple. If you're good people, you're good people. It doesn't matter.
I'm going to actually play another part of this part of the interview, and then I'll be back and we'll start talking about the Bills schedule that just dropped this week.
So I'll ask the punchy question, Patty. Your husband's African American. You're not. What have you had to deal with? You had to probably absorb his pain sometimes. Not truly no, but no.
I will say this, and I'm going to say this, proud of this, but because I'm proud of my husband, but I'm not proud of this fact. Because of who my husband is, we have not had to deal with the same amount of racism that other people have. And that's not to say that we don't, but I will tell you this.
How do you live your life like that?
But raising my family and having two kids, the two youngest, go through Orchard Park schools, I could sit here and I could tell you things that would make your head spin. And I'm going to tell you, it's out there, like Aaron said. And if we sit and we continue to put our head in the sand and say that racism isn't prevalent in Western New York, we are lying to ourselves and everybody around us, because it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
You know what I love about this conversation? It's not rooted in conjecture. Everyone has done something to stand for this. Everyone. It's not just jam jawing. There's an old quote: "Don't talk about it, be about it." Because when it's go time, it's show time.
And I'll tell you something else, student, is you have to start standing up for what's good. So when you start to hear that bullshit and you're around it, have the balls to speak up and say, I don't want to hear that.
Patty, what was your first Bills experience?
So, I mean, I'm a Buffalonian, so I grew up here, and my first experience was my sister bought us, I was probably 13 years old or so. I don't know. I think Joe Ferguson was the quarterback, and my sister bought us 2 cheap tickets in the end zone. I got a beer poured on me, and, and that was my first experience, and it was amazing. I'm a sports fan and I'm an athlete.
Beer poured on me, and
it was amazing.
And it was great. We had an absolute blast. So, going through high school, I went to a couple more games, and then I left Buffalo to go play golf at Oklahoma State, and I brought Thurman back. So
you not punch that person in the face.
There you go.
Bud Carpenter still maintains that he was the reason Thurman got drafted here, and I don't know if I believe him.
I don't know the true story behind it, but I know that we came back together, and that was this almost 38 years ago, and it was really weird because people didn't know I was from Buffalo, and that we met at school, and that I went to Oklahoma State, and he came back. I mean, so a lot of people didn't really know how that had all transpired. It's kind of a neat little story there.
Oh, I'm not sure anyone would know that. I'm happy we got that.
Yeah, I left school to go play golf at Oklahoma.
What's your handicap right now?
It's about a 13.
She can hit the shit on the ball.
Yeah, I can hit the ball a long way, so that's my claim to fame.
All right, and that was just a little bit of the interview that we did on Thursday night with Patti Thomas and Aaron Salter and Be Cool Fool. Want to thank all of them for hopping on with us on Thursday night to kind of discuss, the tragedy from a couple of years ago. There's going to be more of that we put out throughout the rest of the next week or so, and throughout the rest of the off season. So definitely be looking out for that on Do Champions on our Twitter, Instagram, all of our everything that we have. So with that being said, I do want to kind of shift into talking now about the Bills schedule. We've been waiting for it. We wanted to, see, what was going to be coming of, what was going to be coming of the who we're going to be playing, how we're going to match up, who we're getting the first week, what primetime games we're getting. So we got all that this week. And that was really the main thing that, that after the draft, and then the schedule release. Now we got, mini camps and OTAs, voluntary and mandatory. And then we got nothing from after June 13th to July, whatever the date, the end of July, whenever teams start reporting and you start getting that off-season, the off-season news from training camp. So we're gonna definitely go through the schedule here. I'm gonna make a prediction here for that's of myself, and then definitely want to hear what everybody else has to think, in whether it be in the comments or when you watch on replay later on. But I'm gonna pull up the primetime games first. The Bills did get 5 primetime games, and the reason why I personally think that they only got 5 primetime games is because I think that they may end up flexing one of those games at the end of the season. Whichever game it is, I don't think it's going to be the Jets. They could figure something out and do that, but most teams typically only get 7 primetime games at the very most, and usually one of those is a flexed or to be determined type game. So that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. But the week 1 is huge for the Bills. I touched on it last night on Friday Night Lights with Pat Bruckness when we were playing NHL and Madden. This game I personally have as a loss. I think it's going to be one of those, hitch in the mouth type wins or type games. It's a very, very even match. The Ravens know the Bills. The Bills know the Ravens from them playing each other, in multiple playoffs, multiple years. With Josh Allen, Josh Allen's first actual game action was against the Ravens back in 2018. But since then he's had a pretty okay record against them between the regular season and the playoffs. The 2 playoff games, he's 2-0 against the Ravens in the playoffs. So I mean, it's definitely something that it might be a humbling experience for the first game. You never know. It could be something that they need as kind of a litmus test coming out of training camp, out of the preseason, and going from there. So that's something that I personally have as a loss. Then the next primetime game is week 3 at home against the Dolphins. Does anybody need me to go into that any further as to what anybody expects from that game? We expect Josh Allen to be Josh Allen, and for him to get up for that game and kind of just play like it. Like we put out a graphic on Do Champions a couple days ago, that Josh Allen over the last 30, or the Bills over the last 30 appearances are 24-6 in divisional games. That means, obviously, anybody watching right now, and I want to thank everybody for watching, watching this tonight as we go through the schedule and everything. Definitely want to thank you guys for sticking with us and checking us out. But with that, with the divisional games, the Bills are 24-6 in divisional games. They are 1 and hold on, I'll get it for you here. Hold on. The Bills are 1-9 versus the Dolphins, and the Dolphins have 16 other wins in the division. The Patriots have 3 wins against the Bills. 3-7 though. The Jets are 2-8 against the Bills. So there's your six losses right there. A couple games with, you had a win game against New England. You had the one loss last year because it was the last game of the season, and they were sitting the starters other than the first play where Josh came in, kept his starting streak alive. So I don't expect anything really that much different this year. I personally have the Bills going 6-0 in the division again. Now, there's a caveat to that, which I will explain later on in the show when we go through the rest of the schedule, other than the primetime games. But again, 2 weeks later, you go against the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. They play again another divisional game. Fully expect the Bills at home to have that game as a win. Drake May, Stephon Diggs, first time Diggs comes back to Buffalo. Could be a huge storyline that week specifically. There's a lot of things coming from that. Mike Vrabel, now the head coach up there after Gerard Mayo's 1-year stint. They traded Joe Milton, who looked very good in the their week 18 matchup, but again, you're playing backups. So you never know, we've seen multiple first round picks be busts. You never know with Drake May, not saying he is or isn't, but it is something that, you want to see him grow. And I think that he is now going to be in a spot with the New England Patriots with Mike Vrabel at the helm. I think that they got a good one up there, and that does worry me for years down the road, not necessarily over the next probably 2 years. But I do see him growing again this year, and but I don't expect that to be a loss for the Bills. Then the following week, they go into Atlanta for Monday Night Football, and Drake London, Michael Penix Jr., Bijan Robinson. We'll see if the Bills' run defense has improved because Bijan Robinson is going to be a handful. He is probably a top 5 or 6 fantasy back this year. So we'll definitely see how he's more used this year. But that's my personal prediction, is he's probably going to be a top 5 or 6 fantasy running back this year. So definitely, if you can grab him early, he's somebody that you should definitely keep an eye on, or try and grab in those early rounds. But they also got two formidable pass rushers from college this year in the draft. And so it really comes down to it. I really think that one's also a win for me in my book, but it's going to be I think that's going to be a very close game. Somebody the Bills don't see very often. The last time I would have to double check on this, but the last time they saw them, Matt Ryan was still the quarterback, and that was the snow game back a couple of years ago. So the Bills don't see them very often. So then the last primetime game of the year, as it stands right now, is the Bills versus the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud coming to the Bills going down to Houston. CJ Stroud potentially takes that after the sophomore slump. He potentially takes that next leap to be one of the upper echelon quarterbacks in the league. Whether I don't know if he would definitely going to be hit that elite status, but I definitely have him in that next tier. Obviously it's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes at the top, Lamar Jackson next, and then that next tier with guys like CJ Stroud. They got Nico Collins. They did improve. On the defensive side, they did improve a little bit there. They did kind of shore up the offensive line a little bit. So we'll definitely see how that one does go for the Houston Texans. But I personally have that one as a win as well. Now, let me pull up the rest of the schedule, and we'll go through this and together and kind of see what we have going on for the Bills here. So let's take a look here. All right, so week 1 we already went over Baltimore Ravens. I have that as a loss. Bills come into the season 0-1. Again, you have another division game, week 2. That's your first division game of the year. We go to New York, and we play the Jets. The Jets have a lot of things to kind of figure out. They got to figure out a little bit on defense. They got to see how Aaron Glenn is going to be for them. If he is, the same thing that he was doing in Detroit, who knows? Because some games that they played very well defensively. Some games and that was more after they lost Aiden Hutchinson. So now they come in and they have he has Quincy Williams and Quinnen Williams, one at linebacker, one at defensive tackle. He has Sauce Gardner. So they just drafted as Ezra Thomas. So I mean, we'll definitely see how they persist as far as the Jets go. But again, I personally have them being in the basement in the AFC East. I actually have them being fourth in the AFC East this year. So I have that one as a win. Brings the Bills back to 1-1. And then 2-1, we already discussed the Dolphins being a primetime game. And then week 4, that one to me, I don't talk about trap games or anything like that because the Bills are overlooking to the Patriots or anything, because I don't truly believe in that. And when we talk to people like Bud Carpenter, he said, even he says they go in every single week. And they prepare and they play like it's the last game of the season, It's there's no quit in a lot of these teams. So that I don't look as like a trap game or anything like that, but it is something that to kind of take a look at, because you do have a division game coming up, and we as fans like to look at those things and find any reason for a falter with the Bills or a falter with a team or anything like that, or a slip up. And I would have said so much more if Derek Carr was still the quarterback there, because Derek Carr can get it to Alvin Kamara. He can get it to, Chris Olave. And it sounds like they potentially could be trading Chris Olave now. So, they might be in a full rebuild at this point with Derek Carr retiring. So I see that one also as a win as well. So that puts the Bills going into that Patriot game at 3-1. The first quarter of the season done. And the Bills are 3-1. Now, we already talked about week 5 on Sunday night. I have that one as a win as well. So that brings the Bills 4-1. And then the following week, we already talked about the Falcons. That brings the Bills to 5-1 going into the bye week. After the bye week, the Bills have the Carolina Panthers. You have Bryce Young in his 3rd year. They did a lot to improve themselves. They did just release Jadeveon Clowney, so we'll see where he ends up getting picked up closer to the regular season. I don't suspect him to go anywhere during the summer months here. But as far as the Panthers go, they have your Thielen, they have Xavier Legette. It's their offense could take another step forward. But I don't see it being to the point where they are going to match up with Josh Allen and the Bills very, very well, because the Bills have pretty much a lot of answers to anything that can be thrown at them. And this is really like the first game, depending on Tyreek Hill's injury and the surgery he just had a couple weeks ago, see how much time he actually misses. But with that being said, I think this is the first real week that Max Harrison could get some with the speed of Legette potentially being a problem. Now, that's to say if he's now fixed what happened last year with his hands. So he's got to on that side of things with Xavier Legette, he's got to learn how to catch the ball, and I hope that he took the necessary steps to do that for the Panthers' sake. But I have that one as a win for the Buffalo Bills as well. So that puts the Bills at 6-1. Then we go. We have the Kansas City Chiefs coming here. Again, this is the 5th year in a row that we're going to see them, most likely twice. The only year we didn't is the year we played the Bengals in the playoffs. Didn't get to go into Kansas City and for the AFC Championship game that year, but the Bengals did, and they ended up beating them and going to the Super Bowl, inevitably going to the Super Bowl. But with that being said, the Kansas City Chiefs, we know them. They just took Jalen Royals. They took Xavier Worthy last year. They constantly have that upper echelon offense, but I truly think this is the first year you may see them falter a little bit. That they just got rid of Joe Tooney. They did draft a lineman, but like I said, I mean, we've all seen it with rookies. Anybody watching that it's going to watch on the replay, we've all seen it with rookies. Here in Buffalo, especially, you may not see them come right out and be as good of a team as they were last year or even the past few years. Yes, they still have Patrick Mahomes, and he will get you over that hump a lot of times. But now in that division, you have Denver, you have a Raiders team that potentially is going to be looking better this year. You have a Chargers team that is even better than they were last year, and it's just it's going to be a dogfight in that division. For that game specifically, I do have a Bills win. So that puts the Bills at 7-1. 7-1. Yeah, 7-1. With the loss, the only loss right now to the Ravens. I do have the Bills beating the Dolphins. I don't think we need to beat that to death or anything like that. We've talked ad nauseum about the hate the hate for the Dolphins and everything, but the Bills have a much better team than Miami Dolphins, and you're not going to be dealing with the extreme or knock on wood, the extreme heat that Miami at that time of year can be really pushing out. So you're still gonna be talking. It's probably gonna be in the high 70s, low 80s. But again, that's not the 120 degrees it was on the that it was a couple years ago on the sidelines. And with that being said, I do have that as a win for the Buffalo Bills. Continuing moving forward, that puts them at 9-1. Or I'm sorry, 8-1. 8-1. Yeah, 8-1. I don't know why. I don't know why my math is getting bad tonight, but it puts them at 8-1. I have then we have Tampa Bay coming in. Now Tampa Bay it's going to be a good matchup. The last time that we played the Buccaneers, it came down to a Hail Mary and had to be knocked down and was almost caught by Godwin there in the end zone. So they're going to be a formidable team for the Buffalo Bills. They still have Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin. It's going to be a tough matchup for them. I actually have that one as a loss for the Buffalo Bills, bringing the Bills to 8-2. Then they play the Houston Texans in Houston. We already talked about that being a primetime game. So at this point, I'm going to throw it to our sponsors real quickly and thank them real quick.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sports book of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, again, and thank you to all of our sponsors that we do have. Definitely check any one of them out and let them know that Do Champions sent you. I'm sure that we'll hear back about it. And we want to thank you for supporting local businesses and all the other ones that we have there. So thank you to them as well for sponsoring Do Champions. And real quick, before we kind of get into it, I do want to let everybody know, definitely follow us on Do Champions on Twitter, on YouTube, like and subscribe there. Instagram, TikTok, everything to keep up with all the Buffalo Bills material that we are putting out. And we do have some Sabres material as well with myself and Beyond 716. We are going to be doing a giveaway for the NHL draft, which Beyond is actually going to on, I think he said the first night. It's either the first or second night of the draft. We'll have to verify that, but we'll be doing a giveaway that night, the night that he goes. With that being said, we do have a lot of other great shows going on the network. No One to Blame is taking a little bit of a sabbatical right now, seeing as how they're a lot of the things that they talk about between the fantasy football and football gambling content and everything like that. So we're coming up on them coming back and doing some dynasty stuff and some fantasy football stuff as we get closer and closer to the season. We also have on Wednesday nights, we have Whittle and the Almighty Whittle and Beyond 716 on Coast to Coast at 9 p.m. And then Friday nights, we have Chase and Data at 9 and followed by Pat Bruckness on Friday Night Lights, where he plays NHL, Madden, and does a lot of the streaming stuff, and also talks sports in the Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, and sports in general and what's going on in the sporting world. So definitely check him out. You can check that out on Twitch, on right here on X, on Twitter, whatever you want to call it at this point, and then. Like I just said, Saturday mornings, we have Hockey Hotline, Dues Hockey Hotline at 10 a.m. And then right back here for Third and Manageable. And then the Buffalo Blueprint on Sunday nights. So definitely check out for those. But at this point, let's get back into the rest of the schedule and make some predictions here. So we were at the Houston Texans. We talked about that already. So then we're going into Pittsburgh. Always a tough place to play there at, formerly what was Heinz Field. It's now Acrisure Field. So it's always they're always a tough team to play. But we don't know what's going to happen at quarterback with them right now. They do have couple options between Will Howard and who John Gruden actually called his best quarterback in the draft. And then they also have they brought back Mason Rudolph. They traded away George Pickens, and they actually traded for earlier in the offseason DK Metcalf. They did lose Najee Harris. But they still do have Jalen Warren. So, and then they still have that defense. They have Cam Hayward. They have TJ Watt. They have, his name eludes me right now. Peyton Wilson. They have him at linebacker now. They still have Minka Fitzpatrick in that back end. They have Joey Porter Jr. At cornerback. So that's going to be, as much as I think that's going to be one of those games that's going to end with a much larger score towards the Bills than most other games, I do think that it's going to be more of a dogfight late into the third quarter, early fourth quarter before the Bills start pulling away. Just because that's kind of the type of football that Pittsburgh plays, and we'll definitely see how that game goes. But I truly do think that's going to be a one of those games that's going to be a close game until about the end of the third quarter, late into the third quarter, early fourth quarter. So, but I do have that as a win as well. And that puts the Bills at 10-2 coming back home, from Pittsburgh back to Buffalo and to play the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Pat and I were talking about it last night on Friday Night Lights. So if you heard what I was saying on it, I'm going to repeat what I said. So I think that the Bills are going to be able to keep up with that Joe Burrow offense and more because of what's going on the other side of the ball for Cincinnati. They decided to sign both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to very large contracts. They have Joe Burrow under a very large contract. So when it comes down to it, they put a lot of their money on the offensive side of the ball, hoping that they're going to outscore teams, kind of like Detroit did a couple years ago, where they were outscoring teams, but then they were playing games that were like 46 to 42. And, a lot of those high scoring games with high scoring on the defensive side of the ball as well, that their defense would give up. And I kind of feel like that's what they're doing in Cincinnati as well. So with Cincinnati doing that, I think that the Bills have a good enough offense, and with the additions of your Elijah Moore, with the additions of Joshua Palmer, the Josh Allen has a lot of different weapons that know how to get separation in different types of ways now. Elijah Moore with his speed, Josh Palmer in the route running, and not so much speed, but it's more elusive speed, game speed, whatever you want to call it. At that end, so he knows how to separate with his route running and his footwork. So I definitely see that is the advantage on the goes to the Bills, and I think the Bills are going to get more stops than what the Bengals will be able to keep up with there. So I as good as that offense is in Cincinnati, I think the Bills can stop them a couple of times. And be able to kind of continue to roll on into the rest of the season. And I have that one as a win as well. So with that being said, we now go into New England for the Bills Patriots game and another division game at home for the Patriots this time. There isn't really much more to say that, other than at this point, luck has a lot to do with not necessarily who wins, but luck is going to have a lot to do with it at this time of the season in week 15, injuries, who's playing, who's in, who's out, things like that. So we'll definitely see how that is, at that part of the season, but I also have that one as a win for the Bills as well. So that puts the Bills at 12-2 going into Cleveland. And again, who knows who's going to be the quarterback there? It could be Joe Flacco. It could be Shedeur Sanders. It could be Dylan Gabriel at any point of the season. We'll definitely have to see how that works out for the Cleveland Browns. But they have, on the other side of the ball, they have Myles Garrett, who decided to, rather than try and force his way out, he took one of the largest non-quarterback contract that has ever been given out. He's making about $40 million a year to stay in Cleveland and to give up his chance at going to a winning franchise. And it, I hate taking shots at, our Rust Belt brothers, but with Jim Haslam Jimmy Haslam as their owner, I don't see that team getting any better until either he lets whatever happen, or so again, I don't think there's much more that needs to be said about that. I have the Bills winning that one, especially with their linebacker who just retired due to health concerns as well. And then here's the caveat that I was talking about earlier in the evening, or earlier in the show. I have the Bills going 1-1 in these next 2 games. The reason why I have them going 1-1 is it comes down to the simple fact that if they beat the Eagles, I fully expect them at 13-3 to, I'm sorry, if they beat the Eagles and they would be 14-2, I fully expect them to be sitting their guys, their starters, minus Josh Allen's one play that he gets in there to continue his Iron Man streak of continuous games played. So if they beat the Eagles, that puts them at 14-2, and I would have them losing to the Jets in that last game, ending their season at 14-3. Now, if they lose to the Eagles and having the 1 seed locked up and everything else, and continuing to strive towards the playoffs and getting that elusive bye, so they would be able to rest their starters and have basically 3 weeks off, almost 21 days off in between the last time the starters play, minus the one Josh Allen play at the beginning of the game, and then the divisional round game that they would have. So I have the Bills at 14-3, losing to the Jets that last week. Now, if they lose to the Eagles, then they're 13-3. I have them. I would have them playing all their starters in that Jets game for until they got to a point where that they would be in a spot where they could they could call it and kind of pull their starters if that was to be the case. But I do have that. I do have them needing to win that game to get the 1 seed at 14-3. So either way, I have them at 14-3. But that's kind of my caveat as to where they sit at that time of year, or at that time, week 17, week 18. And that's kind of more what I was saying too with the primetime schedule as well. Is I could see that Bills Jets game getting flexed into a better window, and maybe you don't call it flexed because it's a to be determined game. They could put it in a on a Saturday, in a primetime slot on a Saturday to end the season or whatever it is. So that would give the Bills full the six primetime games. But I would have to look it up. I'm not 100% sure the rules for CBS or what games that they can protect or things like that. So I don't know if they're going to be protecting that game, the week 17 game as well, because I would think that they would be protecting the week 9 game. And I think that might be a little bit early for a flex anyways in week 9. So it might not need to be a protected game. So at this point right now, we're sitting the Bills having 5 primetime games, 2 Sunday night games, 2 Thursday night games, and a Monday night game. And I have the Bills going 14-3, getting the 1 seed this year with the way the schedule is. I have them 6-0 in the division, and continuing to having a 6th AFC East title. And that's just an early schedule prediction on what I feel is going to happen. And just a quick look at the primetime schedule again. I think that it's going to be a good year for the Bills. I think Bills fans are going to be pleasantly surprised with a lot of the moves that were made and everything. Now we also have to remember, it's good. It's a good thing that the Bills have a week 7 bye, because you have, and having I don't want to call them easy because, no football game is easy. Any given Sunday, we've learned that all of our lives as fans of football. It's any given Sunday. Any team can beat any team. But with all that aside, with the pretty easy early schedule that the Bills have, it allows the team to kind of get the rookies that are going to need to take the place of Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt that are suspended for the first 6 games of the year. Then coming out of the bye, they'll be most likely ready to go week 8. And if not week 8, week 9. So it kind of allows them to kind of get up to speed and get fully going, and allows them to kind of get going there, and allows the Bills to see what they have in the early part of the season with the rookies, and see how well Max Harrison's going to play, how well Deion Walker's going to play, TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, and see where those guys kind of fit, and potentially to maybe get rid of a Larry Ogunjobi if one of these other guys potentially maybe and then maybe bring him back on the practice squad at that point if he would want to come back at on the practice squad or anything like that. But those are kind of what I'm thinking. And as we kind of get more and more into the off season, Student and I are going to be touching on those things. We're also going to continue to bring you the as he says, nothing but illustrious guests. We're going to continue to try and bring you as many interviews as we possibly can here from Do Champions. And we definitely want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Definitely want to thank our sponsors. Definitely want to thank Aaron Salter and Patti Thomas and even Be Cool Fool for everything that they do in the community, not just relating to May 14th of 2022, but everything that they do throughout everything. And we definitely want to thank them. Real quickly, just to show you, that's one of the benches. And I think Anthony said that they have about 10 more planned, 9 or 10 more planned. So that's one of the benches that they have all set up. So with that being said, I am your host every single week. Missed Student Body Right tonight. Hopefully he's feeling better. Want to thank everybody for joining us, and as always, it's good to be seen.